Just bear for me for a second. We're going live. We're live.
Live, we're good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. At this time, we will call to order the Board of Education meeting of the Suffern Central School District for June 16th, 2020. Let the record reflect all board members are online. I will read the motion for executive as we've done in the past. As you know, we've had a separate stream for executive, so I'm reading the motion after the fact. The chair will entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of reviewing with the acting superintendent of schools and school attorney individual contracts for the 2020-2021 school year, reviewing with the acting superintendent of schools, assistant superintendent of pupil personnel services, assistant superintendent of human resources, and school attorney, potential Title IX and DASA investigations, reviewing with the acting superintendent of schools and school attorney the determination of Suffern Education Association et al. Versus Suffern Central School District Board of Education et al. Case number 035766/2019. Reviewing with the acting superintendent of schools and school attorney the matter of Jordan et al. Versus Board of Education of the Suffern Central School District et al. Rockland County Supreme Court case number 032134/2020. And reviewing with the acting superintendent of schools and school attorney appeal proceedings regarding pedagogical employee 06162020. Okay, please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Action item 1.07, meeting of the regular minutes of the regular meeting for June 2nd, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Ms. Reamer, do I have a second?
Moved.
Mr. Shapiro. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? 1.08, minutes of the special meeting for June 5th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Mr. McKenzie, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cairns. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Okay, 1.09, acting superintendent's comments.
Good evening, everyone. It is my honor to recognize tonight a number of our students who have earned their Girl Scout Gold Awards and Boy Scout Eagle Scout Awards over this past year. This is a tremendous honor in the scouting world and one that, you know, really takes a long time to accomplish. The students have done some wonderful projects that they're going to share with us. Mr. Coronado, if you can stop sharing the agenda for a minute so I can share the presentation. All right, there we go. Okay, so as I said, it's my honor. We are going to start with our Girl Scout Gold Award, Gisette Audie. So Gisette, I welcome you to join us and speak a bit about your project.
Thank you. So for my Gold Award, the issue I addressed was low quality of life in senior citizens. So I worked at Esther Gitlow Towers in Suffern, and I wanted to create a way for the senior citizens to connect with each other and with people my age. So I built planters and benches that they could use outside, and they're raised so they could easily access them to plant. And then I also hosted a garden class involving the citizens and people from my school and my troop to work with them.
Great. Thank you.
Yay, Joseph!
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay!
Great job. Great idea.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Very
And
nice.
now we have Matthew Audie. Matt, if you can tell us about your Eagle Scout project.
Thank you. So my Eagle Scout project benefited Homes for the Homeless summer camp in Harriman State Park. So Homes for the Homeless is an organization based in New York City that not only provides shelter, but other quality of life services to the homeless population. And one of the ways they do that is through Camp Leno in Harriman State Park. And so I reconstructed their old miniature golf course, which was out of use due to water damage, and made it more fun with some obstacles and made it increase the durability so that the campers now have a fun new activity to use throughout the summer.
Great. Thank you.
Yay, Matthew!
Congratulations, Matthew. Wonderful.
Andrew.
So for my project, I built 19 raised garden beds in one of the quads in the high school. So basically there's a club that runs it in the school, and they plant vegetables. And the garden is used for project-based learning, and the vegetables and everything we grow in there goes to local food pantries. And yeah, that's about it.
Wonderful. Thank you. What's going on?
Well done, Andrew.
Andrew, what's been going on since during the closure with those?
I'm not totally sure. The club is currently running that right now, so it's up to them.
Okay. All right. Outstanding. Thank you.
Say hello to your
Good job.
parents in the
Good
background.
job.
Great job, Andrew.
I wanna lift up.
John.
Hello. For my project, I built 3 benches, and I also did a walking trail for the Sisters of Life, which is right behind the middle school. And the walking trail just allowed the sisters to be able to reflect in nature, and the benches help them with seating in their backyard.
Nice.
Hey,
Thank you
John,
very
let me
much.
ask you something. John, excuse me.
Yeah.
If that's so the nun that rides the bike all through the town and everything, I don't know if you ever seen her. On Montebello and Mile Road, she has a place to sit down and relax at the end of the tour.
Yeah.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
Very good.
Good job.
Excellent work.
And James.
Hello. My project was building a patio and the wooden fence at the American Legion Hall. Because in the picture you can see it's all nice, but before there's a lot of wood piles and debris, so there's nowhere to cook out for the members. So I just cleaned it all up and did a patio and a fence.
Wow.
Great.
Great job.
Good.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you all. Great job.
Thank you.
Wesley.
So my project was a dedication or memorial for the volunteer firehouse hose company off Washington Avenue in downtown Suffern. So what I did was I expanded the bed, planted flowers. I repainted the fire hydrant that they have there. And then I also put a rock memorial on the side, dedicating to the past, present, and future volunteer firefighters of not only that hose company, but just in general.
Wow, really nice.
Great job, Wesley. Very nice. Very nice.
Really thoughtful, Wes. Very
Thank you.
thoughtful.
Thank you.
Good job.
And Gabriel.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
So my Eagle project was restoring and enhancing a town of Rampo Evergreen Veteran Cemetery. So I just restored like 20 or 20 plus gravestones. Some of them were veterans, some of them weren't. And then after I restored the cemetery, I did an enhancement phase. So in the front of the sign, there are 105 millimeter artillery shells from West Point Military Academy. And I put them in the ground in cement, of course. And then I put each of the 5 military branch medallions in the artillery shells. And then I have their flags, of course, just to honor everyone who served before and now in the armed forces. So that's what I did for that.
That's fantastic.
That's wonderful. Great job.
That's right out there on Route 59. I noticed it the other day, man. Great job.
Yes, Gabriel, I noticed it too.
Nice.
Before I knew it was your project, I noticed it too. So you've really, you've done something that people see as they're driving by.
Yeah,
that's beautiful, son. Great job.
So thank you. I'm going to put our scouts a little bit on the spot for a minute. Maybe Gisette, you can start and just talk a little bit about the Girl Scout, sort of just the process of the Girl Scout Award and how it's the culmination of the Scout experience. And then boys, I'm going to ask one of you to speak about the Eagle Scout experience, but we'll give Gisette a chance first to talk about the Girl Scout Award.
So to get your gold, you have to go through all the different levels of Girl Scouting. So like Daisy, Brownie, Junior, Cadets, and then Senior. And then you also get your Brown, so Bronze, Silver, and then your Gold. So to start your gold, you have to first find your idea. And it's usually based off a previous idea if you're interested in. For instance, I expanded on what I worked on for my Silver project. And then you have to send in your proposal and meet with your council and get it approved. And you have to have a certain amount of hours and the requirements of the project. And the whole idea is that you're addressing a certain issue and then finding a way to improve and make it better in your community.
Great, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Wonderful.
And boys, if one of you can talk to us about the Eagle Scout process.
Sure. So the Eagle Scout is the highest award in Boy Scouts. So initially, you start scouting when you're 11, and you mostly focus on what people would consider traditional scout skills, starting a fire, tying knots. And as you grow older, there's a greater emphasis on service, character development, and leadership. And that culminates with your Eagle Scout service project, which requires you to lead a team and help your community. And so the saying is that you're an Eagle for life. So while you have the badge, it's ultimately about that journey you go through. And hopefully, as Eagle Scouts, we have to represent what that means to Americans in the future.
Terrific.
That's amazing.
Wonderful.
Yes. Congratulations to all of you on your hard work. I don't know, maybe the board members, while the students are on, if you want to offer your congratulations.
Yeah, I would just say congratulations to all of you. I think those projects are amazing. The work that you put into them is really unbelievable, and the amount of work that I know that it takes to get to the level you're at is really something special. So I just commend all of you for the work that you've done.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
You guys make me so proud that I can't imagine how your parents feel, and I wish you all the best. And I know some of you are graduating, and I know some of you since you're really, really little. So I'm just so proud of you, and to all your parents, I can relate. So best of luck and awesome job.
I'm just blown away by the projects that you guys did. I mean, it not only enhances the community, but it just makes everything beautiful. Especially the Evergreen Cemetery. Like Tommy said, you could see that as you're driving down, and it was a little bit unkept there for a while, and you really did a great job on that. I appreciate that work. And my son is also involved in scouting, my oldest, and he strives to be where you guys are at. So I know the amount of work that goes into it, and I'm very proud of all of you.
Yeah, it's very inspiring to see the project you guys did. Very heartwarming to see your effect on the community, and I just commend everyone for all their hard work and keep it up as you go forward.
It's great to have both the Boy Scouts and really the Girl Scouts in town, because what you've done really does improve the community. But you know, if this were a job interview, the interviewer now would be asking you, where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years from now? What profession do you think you'll see yourself in? Josette?
I'm not really sure yet. I'm interested in teaching.
John?
Oh, yeah. So in the fall, I'm going to attend Florida State, and I'm majoring in finance. So in 5 to 10 years, I'd like to go down the financial route, like a banker or something like that.
Anyone else?
I am currently studying health science at the University of Stony Brook, and in about 5 to 10 years, I strive to be an athletic trainer, helping out people in the sports teams anywhere I can.
Great.
I again just am amazed at you guys working with senior citizens right down the line, remembering our fallen soldiers. That cemetery goes back, I think, to the 1700s. Each one of you, a lot of thought into your projects, remembering the volunteers. Just a great job. I wish you continued success. The very best. Thanks, guys.
All of you basically have achieved a rank in scouting, okay, that most scouts never really accomplish. So to you, and really to the support of your parents for backing you in these programs. And one of the things that you'll be able to put on your resume, so when you do get that interview, will be, okay, the level that you achieved in scouting, which shows many of the political leaders, government leaders, people in business, okay, those who achieve the ranks that you have, okay, have been really some of the most successful people that we have in the U.S. So congratulations.
Yes, congratulations, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done, guys. Well done.
All right, Mr. Coronado, you can put the agenda back up.
Oh. Okay. Public participation on action items only. Heather, I don't know if you have anything to read for this section.
No, I don't.
Nope. Okay. Close that portion. Move to action items. You're looking for a consent agenda. Is there any action items that any board member wishes to pull?
The calendar, so
What number is that?
2.19.
Okay. Anybody have any others they wish to pull?
Matt, I don't know if you can hear.
Yeah.
Okay, because my audio, I have no idea. I had to put the caption on. That's how bad it was.
Okay.
Number 2.20.
2.20.
Yes.
Okay. Any others?
I also had one with strategic planning proposal 2.07.
Okay. 2 point. Okay.
And the gift. 2.06.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Then I'm going to call for consent agenda for action items 2.01 through 2.05, 2.08 through 2.18, and 2.21 and 2.12. I'm sorry, 2.21 and 2.22. Okay?
Can you do me a favor? Can you just repeat those numbers for me so that I can write them down?
So the consent agenda is going to be for 2.01 through 2.05, 2.08 through 2.18, and 2.21 and 2.12. So you have pulled 2.07, 2.06, 2.19, and 2.20. Okay. So all those, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to consent agenda?
Moved.
That Dr. Nick Pond?
I can't.
Yep.
Second?
Second.
Cairns? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Okay, so let's go to 2.06. Is there a motion?
Moved.
McKenzie, is there a second?
Second.
Aaron? Discussion?
Let me just pull it up. I'm sorry.
I can't hear.
Yeah, this is the gift.
So this was the Go-Go Squeeze applesauce. So who was the gift from? I was trying to, from Mattern NA. Does anybody know who it was from? Who are they?
Steve or Teresa, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, they're an actual a nationwide company, but a local distributor, and a local salesperson came to us because due to COVID, they had all kinds of samples that they had waiting for a trade show that got canceled, and they couldn't do anything with it other than either give it away or throw it away. So they decided to give us a call, and it was a very nice donation on their part.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you to whoever donated it, especially during COVID-19. And I'm sure it went to our students. Is that correct? For those kids who were getting lunch that we usually in Rotary give the snack attack to over the weekends? Are those the same kids?
Yeah, it was given out with all. Yeah, it was
In the
given
lunch
out with all the lunches. I do have a little more information. The parent, one of the owners of the company is a Connor parent, RP Connor parent, Kelly Miller. So they're the owners of the company.
Oh, that was great. So I just want to say thank you so much. And I'm so glad that we got that donation. So that was it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
I agree. Just very generous and very kind to the people. There's a lot of people in our town, and that was a very nice thing that we did.
Okay. All those in favor of this item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. The motion passes. 2.07. This is the strategic planning proposal. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Cairns? there a second?
Second?
Ms. Reamer? Discussion.
I'm gonna sneeze. If I sneeze, I'm sorry. I was just wondering, I know we got an email regarding this. Is that correct, Lee?
Yes.
Okay.
We received several emails about it.
Right, and I just wanted to make sure. Now, this is the same company who we've used in the past?
Yes, we didn't use them for strategic planning. We used them for our examination of best practices in literacy, but strategic planning is something else they do, and we've had now a 5-year relationship with them.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have a hard time hearing because people aren't on mute. I don't know.
So maybe if everyone could mute for a moment.
Sorry. Okay. I'm just wondering now, I'm not on the strategic planning. I think Lee, you're on are you on two things?
I am. I have 2 devices going, but one of them is all the sound is off on one of them.
I know, but maybe that's the reason. I don't know. I'm not a techie kind of person. I'm just wondering, is the strategic committee in cahoots with this whole thing, or is this something that's completely separate?
No, this was presented at a strategic planning committee meeting, the last one we had, and Matt gave an update on it at the last board meeting. So I don't know, Matt, maybe if you want to elaborate a little.
You want to explain what you mean by cahoots?
Like, no, I mean, like, is this part of is this coming from the administration, or is this something that was worked on with the?
Right. So at the last meeting, when I gave the update on strategic planning, we said that we were going to recommend to the board bringing in this company to help with our long range planning, and especially with the current strategic plan ending, which is later in the meeting tonight. You're going to see a presentation on that. We need to start working on our next strategic plan for the next 5 years, and we had said that we were going to be putting out a bid and having a contract on this meeting for the board to approve.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that maybe I was sleeping during that, or I just wanted to make sure that it was all part of that. Okay, thank you.
Did a bid go out?
It wasn't bid. We didn't bid it. We got a quote from them. So it's not something you would typically bid. You could get multiple quotes. In this case, because they're a company we've worked with so successfully in the past, and this is something they do, this is right in their wheelhouse. My recommendation to the committee was that we go with them because we really know the high quality product we're going to get. The other thing I want to point out is that this is going to be funded through Title II funds, so it's budget neutral. Nothing from the operating budget will be used towards it. It'll be entirely paid out of federal Title II funds.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Everybody has to go off of, I think everybody has to go off of mute. I'm like the mute.
Aye.
Raise your hand.
All those against? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. 2.19. This is the
Calendar.
Board of Ed meeting calendar. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Mr. McKenzie, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Shapiro, discussion?
For the first meeting, the reorg meeting, is it live or is it Memorex?
That is up to, honestly, that's up to us. We don't have to make that decision right now. What I would say is this, and again, it's my opinion. I mean, I think that we can have it in person and set up the room downstairs where we have our regular meetings in a way that's socially distant from each other. We can space out chairs for the public. We can still allow the public to do, virtual submission of public participation if they're not comfortable coming. But all that being said, everybody needs to be comfortable with that. And I think that if there's one person that isn't, then we shouldn't do it.
Agreed.
Everybody needs to be comfortable
Agreed.
sitting together. And again, we don't have to decide that right now.
It should be progressive. It shouldn't be, just from one extreme to the other where we go back to a regular meeting. We should do it much the way that the rest of the world is doing it and slowly move it along. My opinion. That's just my opinion.
So that could be
I'm sorry, Matt. What are the current restrictions now on numbers of people gathering? Has that recently changed? I'm not.
No, we're still under 10 people indoors, but by then we should be in phase 3, which we do anticipate that number going up in phase 3.
Okay.
So along the lines of what Angus said, in my mind, we could do something like have the board and the administrators and the district clerk in public, like we would have at the dais, but spread out more. And maybe we don't allow the public there at all. And, we continue to have the public communicate with us through email. And obviously, everything we do is live streamed anyway. Because I agree, we can't just rush back into the way that it was. I don't even think legally we could, because I think we'd be over capacity anyway. But I think those small steps, again, for me personally, I'd be okay with it. But if there's one person that isn't, then we shouldn't do it. But, again, we can decide that in the next 2 weeks. Don, you're muted.
I think we really have to wait and see what happens in the future. Right now, there's 117,000 dead, and the expectations in terms of, August is another 100,000. So we don't know where it's going at this point. I think it would be much better just to wait, see what happens, and let it play out.
Okay. Okay. Was there anything else about the calendar?
I just wanted to know for the future. I mean, I just wanted to know what plans were so that I can go accordingly.
Honestly,
it's the 16th already, so I just wanted to know, what the plans are for.
There's only 2 things that we really need to contend with. One is the amount of people we're legally allowed to have in the space, and 2 is how we feel. And again, that's going to be personal. It's going to be each one of us as individuals deciding if we're comfortable sitting there or not.
Well, do you think that we can poll now just to see where we are so that I can make plans accordingly so that we know? I mean, because then I'll know whether I need to be in New York or where I need to be. If we're going to have a meeting live, then I know I need to be in New York.
Right.
And I mean, that's for anybody.
So again, just for me, my opinion is I would be comfortable meeting in person. Okay. So that's me.
And my wife tells me I will not be comfortable meeting.
So things like Melissa, you can go wherever you like.
I think that we need to, before we take a poll, we need to figure out how you would configure the room.
I agree.
We need to discuss it further before we're going to start.
I think it's a little premature to make a decision right here.
Well, I agree with your wife, Paul.
Okay, you know what? As there's a strong chance we may be meeting within the next 48 hours or 72 hours, whatever. Maybe we should all think about it, and then maybe at that next meeting, have a short discussion or whatever.
if we could figure out what the phase 3 regulations are, how many people can be in that room.
I think we probably need to wait longer than that. I mean, the meeting's not till July 7th.
It's 3 weeks from now. That's what we're
Right.
talking about.
We don't need to be making the decision this week.
No,
I think,
but yes, but I hear what Melissa's saying. I mean, you know, she's, you know, she wants to be able to plan ahead, as we all, you know, we all do.
Thank you, Paul.
Right. So, and I would also like to, because that will also impact where I may be or may not be, or wherever my wife lets me to be, whatever. I think that we should give it, you know, give ourselves another 48 hours to think about it, and then, because we have plenty of time, and we could change our mind. We could say, okay, let's do it live, or Memorex, whatever, which is the opposite of live, or let's continue what we're doing. Look, in 3 weeks we have no idea what's going to be, and that's going to be the determining factor, no matter what we feel.
okay. So
Also, there's a lot of times on the calendar that we know are going to be not starting at 7:30. So those are not, you know, like, we know that they're going to be times on the calendar from past meetings, and those are not denoted on this list. So, I mean, things should be denoted on the list.
Why wouldn't they start at 7:30?
Well, because you're going to have meetings that are going to be like the retirement, the top 10%.
Right,
stuff
but,
like
those
that.
are, but typically those are built into the timeframes of the meetings, so that you have that reception before 7:30. And I think this week meetings are always scheduled to start for 7:30.
So then why would you have unless otherwise noted? So why bother having that note there? So why would you?
We could take the note out if you'd like.
Well, I mean, then it doesn't make any, I mean, like, why bother having it then?
Well, because it also says all meetings are in the main boardroom at Hilburn unless otherwise noted, and that's because we have it in the middle school sometimes.
That's a separate notation.
Yeah, I'm not, listen, I don't really think it matters. If it does, I mean, we can take that out.
Well, because I mean, are we going to go in and change this every single time? I mean, like, you know, some people use this and they go through it and they say, oh, okay, well, this is where the meeting's going to be held. You know, you never know. You know, if you go through this list and that's what you're using, and a lot of people use this list instead of going onto the agenda, this is what they're using.
So Melissa, you're saying that we should be more definite and let's say saying may.
Well, I mean, like, we know that some of these meetings are going to be, say, at the middle school,
yes.
and so they should be denoted. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult, but I mean, let's give as much information as we possibly can.
Right. Okay. So listen, this is something that you know, that we can put out for the entire public. While we can agree on the dates, we can then reset the places at one of our, you know, early meetings, whether it's August or September, to give people plenty of time so that they can have it on the calendar.
Right. Even just right next to it, if it's the you know, the 10-year meeting or something, whatever.
Just
put in there that, you know, there'll be a reception before 10-year.
Yeah, all we're doing right now is approving the dates.
Okay. I haven't had a date since March 13th.
What year?
Oh, cute. Very cute.
Is there anything else to add here, or are we ready to vote?
We're ready to vote.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Motion passes. 2.20, Paul, you pulled this. This is the Harris hosting agreement.
Right.
We need to vote, poll?
Well, we have to bring it up.
Yeah, I was just saying this is the next one.
Right, yes.
Is there a motion?
Move.
Mr. Shapiro, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. McKenzie, discussion?
Yeah, my question is here, what is the hosting, what are we hosting, or what is Harris hosting?
Harris is hosting our WinCap server.
Oh, that was it. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Lee.
It's okay.
No, wasted time. Sorry. Okay.
All throw at the party.
I'm good.
Okay.
It's a win.
Anybody have anything to add? All right. All those
So
in
this is
favor.
separate than BOCES.
What's that?
Yes, BOCES doesn't support WinCap. And so we're going with the company that does support WinCap.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Okay.
Well, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nay votes? Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you. Let's move on from action items. Administrative reports. This is the strategic planning. This is the presentation really for the sunsetting of our current strategic plan. So Lee, I'm going to turn this to you.
Great, thank you. And Eric is going to stop sharing so that I can share. And Eric, I'm going to do this right the first time. This one's a little fancier because we have a video in it. All right. Okay, we good? Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so as Matt referenced, this is really the sunset of our strategic plan, where we are looking back on the strategic plan that is concluding this month and looking forward to, what comes next for Suffern Central. So I want to start by saying when we started our strategic plan 5 years ago, we were Ramapo Central. And one of the biggest things that came out of this strategic plan is the change to Suffern Central, which by all accounts has been very successful in terms of, identifying ourselves. And I was surprised even when I double checked and that we've only been Suffern Central for 3 years. But I know for those of you who have spent your lifetimes here, Suffern Central may still sound new. But to me, who hasn't been here quite as long, it even sounds a little foreign to me when I hear Ramapo Central. So I do want to talk about some other things that have come in during the time of this strategic plan. We have the Yale EI work, the Teachers College Units of Study in Reading and Writing, one-to-one devices for students and parent and staff, project-based learning, our maker spaces, and STEAM opportunities. Breakfast in every building. When the past strategic plan first started, we were not serving breakfast in all of our buildings. Elementary school counselors and real authentic learning experiences. In this case, we have the SMS Green Team. So all things that really are related to the strategic plan we put in place started 5 years ago. So that strategic plan started in the 2015-16 school year. We had 3 committees, including administrators, teachers, community members, and students. The work ended up dividing into communication and partnerships, teaching and learning, and intervention and supports. That second year, we had proposed 7 goals at the end of the first year. And really in the second year, distilled that down to a prioritized goal for each committee. And then over the past 3 years, we've been moving forward with, really implementing that plan. So I'm going to be joined by some of my colleagues today who were part of this process. And first, from the Communication and Partnerships Group, I would like to welcome Dr. Castellane, who is our Sloatsburg principal and was part of this group.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing? So as Ms. Weber said, I was on the communication and partnerships, and basically our priority goal was to seek expanded opportunities. We wanted to really promote the distinctive brands, the school as a brand, as a premier school district, both within the community, and we wanted to do some outreach to external audiences. So I'll do some highlights on this next page. So as Mrs. Weber said, our biggest highlight for the communication partnerships that came out was really the name change. And a main focus at that time was to increase the communication avenues. And that would be Instagram, YouTube. Most recently, we added the Remind. We have the newsletters, Peach Jar. And one of the things that we're doing now is we're including our communications to be in English and Spanish. We also created promotional videos, and those were basically to highlight our schools, and then we wanted to highlight all the programs inside our schools. So we worked with our communications person, Mrs. Marmelstein, to get that out. Outside of the schools, we fostered the growth of community partnerships, such as, with the Lafayette Theater, the Village of Suffern, the Village of Sloatsburg. And within the last 2 years with our project-based learning program, we really have stretched out to Storm King Arts Center, RCC. We've worked with, my school worked with Woodmont Hills. So we really have continued that outreach and reached even more people through that program as well. The superintendent's task force, that included, obviously, the superintendent, a couple administrators, the mayors, real estate agents, business owners, and developers. And basically what we would do is we would meet and we would collaborate to really see how we could bring more people into our school district and how we could work together as a team. And that was really the whole thing behind the branding and how we could help each other. We increased the partnerships between our schools. So sometimes our schools didn't always work together. So we increased the Future Mounties, passing on the Pride initiatives, Heroes and Cool Kids, the National Art Honor Society. So we really promoted our students going back and forth between buildings and working with each other. At that time, we also decided to put a focus on revamping the website, and we are working on revamping it once again, which will be hopefully released in the fall. And then finally, I just want to mention that the Suffern Central School District was able to have the introduction of the pre-K classes over at Viola, and we're looking to expand those for next year. So the fall will have some additional pre-K classes. So, I feel like, we were off to a really good start, and those changes are keep coming. And I'll turn the next priority over to Mrs. Benatti.
Hello. Hi, my name is Kelly Benatti. I'm principal of RP Connor. I was on the Teaching and Learning Committee. So this priority goal focused on the area of teaching and learning, and we established objectives centered around a well-rounded, standards-based curriculum with an emphasis on pursuing personal interests, real-world experiences, and accessing cutting-edge technology and programming. Next slide. Thank you. The school buildings have 3D printers and Chromebook carts the teachers can use to engage the students in curriculum. Both students and teachers on the elementary level have a dedicated device. The devices are equipped with research-based instructional applications that support the standards-based curriculum. The teachers and administrators in the district have participated in both in-person and remote professional development through the Lower Hudson Regional Information Center, which is the LYRIC. Through the support of our literacy coaches, Mrs. Perio and Mrs. Vega, the teachers have successfully transitioned to the Teachers College Reading and Writing Project, and most recently, TC Phonics for grades K-2. Through the residencies, the coaches are able to spend a dedicated amount of time in each of the buildings. Lessons are modeled, student work is examined, and small group lessons are planned. Instructional coaching has continued during remote learning with the support of Mrs. Perio, Mrs. Vega, and Mrs. Powell, who now provides instructional coaching for teachers of English language learners. Not only do the elementary buildings have a dedicated space for students to engage in engineering and the design process, more and more the classroom teachers are engaging students in STEAM lessons through authentic curriculum connections. Our PBL coach, Ken Wojciechowski, has worked alongside teachers on all levels in the district to develop and implement project-based learning. The teachers participate in professional development and work with Mr. Wojciechowski to create and implement one-of-a-kind learning opportunities for kids. I have seen firsthand how engaging the PBL units are and how invested the students are in the learning process. During remote learning, project-based learning continued. Students in the district completed 3 PBL units, tree houses, villains and heroes, and fitness opportunities. Mr. Wojciechowski now has a county-wide cohort, and we're looking forward to cohort 3, which will begin in the 2020-21 school year. And in our next slide, we're going to take a look at what PBL looks like in Suffern Central. So it's a nice video.
The kids understand the purpose and the application of
Sorry.
what they're learning, what they're learning.
Sorry. I meant to make it bigger.
I hope you enjoy the show.
Project-based learning is being able to work with teachers and interpreting their curriculum, their content, their standards, and creating a living, breathing storyline to bring to life what they normally teach.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
You guys will be running your own escape room.
They had to create documentaries that resonated with local viewers, and that's what you're about to see.
Typically, when a project launches, the first day, it's called an entry event, and that's a big bang to get the kids excited. It introduces them to what the adventure is.
Your team will be tasked with designing a playground on a square lot measuring 80 feet by 80 feet. We have a budget of $75,000 that you and your team will work with.
Sometimes we go on a trip. Sometimes somebody will come here and visit. Her name is Mrs. Wiesner. Can you say hi to her?
Hi.
I'm told that you want to know how somebody with disabilities functions on a day-to-day basis.
Think about your project. Think about what we're making. And think about what Mrs. Wiesner said. We would do what's called culture building. I'm doing a lot of team building, a lot of 21st century skills, a lot of conflict resolution. I'm introducing what their roles are within the groups. Maddie, you are a project manager, so you are in a leadership position. Meetings with you and the others will be just check-ins. I'll ask, how's it really going? Is anybody, is everybody pulling their own weight? The community component to project-based learning is one of my favorite parts because it brings to life the story.
I thought it was really important, especially getting kids to sort of get engaged in filmmaking, seeing the smile on their face so they could see their hard work up on a huge screen like this. It was really wonderful to be able to do it.
We did a lot of editing. We cut some things. We have to put in some music.
Way to go. Round of applause for our filmmakers and producers.
The kids can see in person what they're learning, how it can manifest.
Boston Massacre all started at 9 p.m. on King Street.
Project-based learning has brought the real world into the classroom. It's built connections with outside members like the mayor, historians, local officials. It's allowed students the opportunity to engage in the curriculum in a way they've never had before.
I saw a man take a chunk of wood out of his coat and throw it at Montgomery. Thank you.
It's the authentic learning, and it's the real life outcomes that are attached to that learning that makes everything so much more relevant for kids.
Matthew Gilroy has been found innocent of the charge of murder.
They worked hard and learned a lot about the American history, but also about our system of jurisprudence.
The case that you have presented to the judge and the jury that is something so unique, you will never forget it.
The potential there for us to be involved within the school district and bringing the children in the district together to build one strong district and one strong community.
All Adventures is an escape room company that has asked us to create an escape room that incorporates chemistry.
Our overall goal is to mix problem solving and chemistry so that we leave our players with an educational experience.
You said the budget was $822. Did that include the locks or it included the locks? Ms. Nunziata contacted us and their ultimate goal was to have something to present at the STEAM Expo, which is amazing.
It's definitely rare and something I've never seen before.
There's so much more enhancement in their learning just because they understand the application and the purpose behind it.
I was always a traditional learner. I always used to learn through lectures, but from a truly honest perspective, I loved the experience. I got to know people that I didn't really know much more and became better friends. And we actually came up with something better than I could have ever worked on alone. We hope to achieve an escape room like no other.
The room actually getting built. Escape from Chernobyl.
Back in the day when we used to walk by classrooms and see kids moving around and like not sitting and staring at the teacher, we used to think that there was no learning going on. Education has changed so much that you guys, now you're self-directed and you get to have fun. And this is what we want to see in our school, and we want to see this across education everywhere.
I fell in love with it. I thought it was incredible and very meaningful. And I thought it was everything about education that I wanted to get from it. We're creating adventures. The kids understand the purpose and the application of why they're learning what they're learning.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Castaldo and Mrs. Aguilar will talk about our third goal.
I don't think there's any way to follow that. I think that I should have asked to go earlier in the presentation because no one can follow Ken Wojciechowski. And I don't know if anyone noticed, but there was a jar of fluff in that film even, and who can follow fluff? And then on top of that, all of those wonderful students and all of that wonderful learning that went K to 12, project-based learning. So that was fabulous. The committee that I was on with Angela Aguilar and Brian Fox was interventions and supports. And interventions and supports primarily is all of those extra activities that pupil personnel services cover in the first place. So this committee was a natural fit for me. And our goals will increase students' social emotional competence and self-esteem, to offer supplemental educational activities and academic services, and implement innovative educational opportunities to address students' needs across the board. And if we could go to the next slide, and Mrs. Aguilar is going to speak for a little bit.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Angela Aguilar. I'm the principal at Cherry Lane Elementary. So good evening, and it was such a pleasure to be a part of this team and the Intervention and Supports Committee. We really enjoyed it. There was a lot of community involvement, parents and students, and it was just really nice to work with people across the district. So there are a few pictures you could see there. One of them is the Girls on the Run, which is an elementary through middle school program that inspires our girls to build confidence, value relationships, and teamwork, and also helps them recognize how they can shape the world around them. They also teach other important life skills through interactive lessons and physical activity. And usually the culminating activity is a 5K run that their parents, teachers, administrators, and students participate in together. It's a really fun thing to do. And a lot of our girls really enjoy it, and they get more out of it than they think they do when they first come into it. Another picture there is the KIND campaign, and you can see it. It's in the Suffern Middle School auditorium right there. And actually, it's for the third year in a row, the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders were a part of the KIND campaign, which brings awareness and healing to the negative and lasting effects of girl against girl bullying. This year, together, the girls actually pledged to be kind. They apologized for things that they may have done or said, and they worked together to spread that kindness amongst themselves. So that's really powerful. And what kind of came out of that, for the first time, the boys participated in a similar program created by the administration and the staff at SMS called the Committee of Mentors. And you can see that men is highlighted there in all caps. And this program actually gathered all 500 plus middle school boys together, and they listened to personal accounts of what it means to be a young man, especially in today's world. and how to navigate those tricky landscapes of growing up while also still supporting each other and building those relationships. Also, right there is the Heroes and Cool Kids. And that's such a great program in the high school. And it actually connects what Dr. Castellane was talking about, high school kids working with middle school kids, buildings working across buildings. But Heroes and Cool Kids, HAC for short, is a Suffern High School club made up of juniors and seniors who mentor sixth grade students throughout the year. And they talk about peer pressure. They talk about drugs and alcohol use. And then they also offer some support to those young students by answering any questions that they might have about getting older and going into the high school. And then for me, last but not least, and then Lisa's going to talk a little bit more about some of the other programs here that we're sharing with you, is breakfast. Lee mentioned breakfast at the beginning of her presentation. And yeah, all of our buildings have breakfast and they're serving breakfast. We're providing every student in the district an option to have breakfast in the morning before their classes start, from hot breakfast to cold breakfast. On average, I know we serve about 630 students daily, and that's when our buildings were open. I realize that right now it's probably much more, much greater. But we know how that number is probably a little higher now. And we know the importance of breakfast, and that students who eat breakfast show improved attendance and behavior and also academic performance. So our students are better throughout the day because they eat healthy breakfasts in the morning. And that's really thankful to Jenna Giannacchio and her wonderful team. And Lisa, it's on you.
Breakfast was one of the first things, one of the first accomplishments this group had. And interestingly, it came out of a parent who showed up, I think, at our last meeting. And we had many parents come in and out of the committee along the way. And a parent said, well, can't you at least give everyone breakfast? And we spoke to food service about it and the treasurer, Teresa Soldi, and we were able to do this before we even got done and made the presentation about strategic planning. And we were so excited because it's such an important part of the day. Some of the other things that this group managed to accomplish in the last 5 years was to really strengthen our clinical team and the services that they can offer to students. So if you look, there's a slide there, all of the clinical staff undergoing DBT training. That, along with CPI, has increased our staff's ability to respond to students who do have emotional regulation needs and deeper mental health needs as well as just to assist all of the students in classrooms. Additionally, we have Dr. Recess, who came in and worked with us on peaceful playgrounds. Recess is such an important time of a day. It's a time for a student to kind of reset, those elementary students to reset, integrate the learning that's occurred, kind of emotionally reset themselves and get ready for the rest of the day. So it was really important that we brought that group in as well. You can see we have put in sensory hallways. So the picture up in the upper right corner is one of our sensory hallways. We now have that in every one of our elementary schools, as well as our middle school, has a sensory hallway to assist students in kind of resetting their emotional, their sensory needs. And also we do have sensory rooms as well, which have more activities for students to do that assist with sensory needs. Another thing we're very proud of in the last 5 years is something Mrs. Weber mentioned at the beginning, the elementary counselors, the guidance counselors that we added on. We now have 1.5, a full-time and a part-time elementary guidance counselor who's working in our elementary buildings, building those relationships with students and connecting with students at a very young level, young age. And one of the last things that is probably a hallmark of what PPS has done, and then out of the interventions and supports committee, is the Yale EI program. And as you know, that's a 3-year implementation and then some. Next year, we'll be entering year 3, which is when we really incorporate the families into our Yale EI implementation. In the last 2 years, we've trained staff and we've worked with the students on it and infused the buildings. All of the buildings, when you go in, have some sort of Yale EI touchstone mood meter, meta moment information for students to use, as well as the charters to kind of guide behavior throughout the day and emotional regulation. And in that upper left corner is a picture of a family Yale-EI night that one of our elementary schools had, because we really do intend on incorporating all of our families into it so that they have what you can see behind me in my home office is even a mood meter. So, you know, we're hoping that all of our families use this as a way to talk about emotions and tame emotions with their children and give them that ability to be emotional scientists as well. So interventions and support, very proud of what we've done so far. We still have a long way to go, but very proud of what we've done so far with strategic planning outcomes. I think it's back to Mrs. Weber now. Yeah.
I just needed a second to unmute. I'll go back to the presentation. I want to thank Dr. Castaldo, Mrs. Aguilar, Dr. Castellane, and Ms. Bonatti for your contributions, both during the strategic planning process and this evening. So this is really sort of the conclusion of our previous strategic plan. And you know, I've spent a lot of time this spring thinking about, you know, how do we present this at this time? We're so focused on COVID and re-entry and all the things that are going on in the larger world. In a way, it seems that it could be awkward or maybe tone deaf to be talking about this right now. But the more I thought about it and the more people I reached out to, because our strategic plan is coming to a close, it's even more important that we craft that vision, that we craft a vision of where we are going and that we have stakeholder input moving forward. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about how do we do that? How do we go about turning our focus to the future? How do we think about a 3 or 5 year strategic plan when, you know, we're focused on our health, the health of our loved ones, you know, the economy? How do we get there? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. You know, during this time of the strategic plan, we did have, you know, we had some very set goals, and then we just had things that happened. So over the last 5 years, one of the really big things that have happened is, you know, the changes in school safety. So we want to be sure that in our new plan, we provide a safe and secure environment for our students, our staff, and our families. A lot of this we're already working on. When we talk about building safety, we talk about our security team, our visitor management system, our vestibules that we've looked to build, you know, just the physical safety of our buildings. We've also talked a lot about communication. Really, that was something that came out of that communication and partnerships group. We have increased our communication significantly over the past years, particularly in the area of, you know, bilingual, making sure we provide all announcements in 2 languages now, access to our communication tools, and particularly in terms of 2-way communication. You know, in past years, it was always the school giving out information. Now we have a lot more mechanisms to create 2-way communication where the parents and the community can also feed information back to us via surveys, social media, and other avenues. Another focus, as mentioned in a couple times, is social emotional learning. And at this time, social emotional learning, you know, we think about our Yale-EI and Emotions Matter program, but there's so much more to it right now. Culturally responsive teaching, restorative discipline practices, you know, truly making every child feel safe at school. There's just so much here. And when we re-enter, this is going to be, you know, a real focus for us. Speaking of re-entering, you know, reopening in the time of COVID-19, that is, you know, in and of itself, an area that we need to focus on. We have the reopening team working on that. We're looking forward to updates throughout the summer as more information becomes available. And lastly, we have our federal and state mandates, Title IX, DASA, Title VI and 7. These are, you know, areas of compliance, but they're compliance because they're about keeping kids safe. So we want to make sure that our practices and protocols are the best practices and protocols. So that's something that we as an administrative team, we've done a lot of work in this area already, and we really believe that this is an area that we will want to continue to focus on in the coming years. The other area that we really see, and this is our reality, is the changes in our enrollment. We want to make sure that we continue utilizing best practices to support current and projected enrollment in a fiscally responsible, culturally responsive manner. We know from the enrollment study that we have some enrollment changes to anticipate. We also know that we have students coming in, particularly more English language learners. We want to make sure we continue to meet their needs and support students from diverse backgrounds. All of this, we want to use best practices that meet students' needs while we utilize our resources efficiently. So again, this is an area that we know is something we're going to want this new strategic plan to address. So really, how do we go about doing that? And this is where the partnership with District Management Group comes in. So Ms. Reamer had asked earlier a little bit about our work with this group. We've done work with this group. We started our work with them 4 years ago in the area of creating best practices in literacy. But that's only one thing they do. They do strategic planning throughout the country. And they're a Boston-based group. And what we have found is that their experience and expertise is really, they have a keen sense of utilizing both qualitative and quantitative data and synthesizing it and presenting it in a way that really helps you see things differently and see what's going well and see where there's room for growth. So their basic framework for strategic planning comes from the mission and vision, and then it goes to a theory of action and priorities. And the way they look at that theory of action and priorities is really, that's a joint work between the school board and district leadership. And then the nitty-gritty of how that gets done becomes the responsibility of the district with the initiatives and the action steps. So it really is, bringing the district together, both the administrative leadership and the school board, to make sure that this is what everyone wants for the district. And how do they do that? So you probably can't read this, so I'm just going to hit a couple highlights here. The first part is convening a strategic planning design steering committee. So there'll be a steering committee, not too big. You really want to keep it somewhat small so that you don't get overwhelmed in the number of voices. But that steering committee will see the work through the process. Big part is conducting the needs assessment. Again, we've worked with DMG before, and they're experts at this, both quantitative and qualitative data. You see that there's an opportunity early on here for stakeholder focus groups and interviews and collecting community and stakeholder input. So our larger community is a part of this process from the start. Then what DMG does so well, analyzing data and sharing their findings. The next step is to develop a strategic plan where they'll work with our steering committee to incorporate our mission and vision, work on that theory of action, the district priorities and goals. And at that point, they'll create an initial draft of the strategic plan, which now, again, for a second time, goes back to the community, goes back to the community for stakeholder and input. So there was input from the community at the beginning, then there's all the work that gets done, there's an initial draft, which goes back to the community for stakeholder input. That was one of my favorite things about their plan. And then from there, it gets down into the nitty gritty of how we make these things happen. And so there's yearly targets set, current initiatives, future initiatives, and then we get into the detailed action steps of implementation. So that whole process, we estimate, will take a year. And with DMG, we're prepared to do that virtually while we need to, and in person when we have that opportunity to. So we'll work on that with them as we move along. Questions? Board members, any thoughts, questions?
No, I mean, I'll start with just saying that was a fantastic presentation. There was a ton of information. It's great to see all the work that's been done over the last 5 years, everything that's been implemented in this district. You know, we've come a long way in 5 years, and we weren't starting in a bad place. I mean, 5 years ago, we were a great district. And this just goes to show you how much better you can still be even when you're at the top. And I think that's what we need to try to continue to do with our next strategic plan. We know how good our district is. We know how good our programs are. We know that what we provide for our students is first class. And with the changes that we see upon us, it's important to get the data, analyze it, and make sure that in light of whatever changes come our way, we still provide to the students and to this community what we have always provided them.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to make it? I mean, the floor is open if anybody wants to add anything. Okay.
Well, certainly, Matt?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, certainly a lot of work has been done over the last five years, and we still have plenty of work to do. I mean, obviously, there's changes, and you know, throw in a health scare, to say the least. It just really leaves us with a lot of work to do, and I would think that the six people that I work with on the board, that all of us are willing to do it. I think we're willing to get our hands into this and to be involved and to assist the administrative team and to really be a part of this. And it'll be great to really push things ahead to see what happens in let's say 2025. So I'm really excited about working with the DM group. I want everyone to know that none of them are Yankee fans because they come out of Boston. So just keep that in mind.
So as I had mentioned at the last meeting or the meeting before, we were going to go and approve this contract with DMG, which we did earlier tonight. And that's going to allow us to really start strategic planning right off the bat when we start the new school year. So we tried to do this in a way where we weren't going to waste any time. So we have, an agreement with DMG. We can get them working, in the next few weeks if we wanted to. But what I would say is sometime over the summer, I think that, we'll probably look to hold a strategic planning meeting, and hopefully it can be in person. And if it can't, then it'll be virtual. But, we don't want to waste any time. 5 years goes pretty fast. And, you want to take all that time and do the best for this district. So I would just say that, to look for a strategic planning committee meeting sometime over the summer. And obviously, we're going to look for a lot of stakeholders to come out and get involved. Don, you're muted.
Telephone's not working. For those who've worked on the program for the last 5 years, okay, and looking forward, is there a program or an idea or an initiative that you worked on before, but now you see something that's new for the next 5 years? Is there something that has, basically said, wow, maybe we should be doing this in our next 5-year plan?
Well, two of the ideas were proposed are among those things: the safe and secure environment and the changes in enrollment. But if any of my administrative colleagues would like to chime in on other thoughts, I welcome you to share those.
I know that I've been giving some thought to what exactly are those, what could be called soft skills or kind of strategies and skills we can kind of layer on top of Yale EI, because Yale EI is helping you regulate your emotions and then tame them and use them for you. But what exactly do we want children to have? So things like grit, perseverance, character development, those types of skills on top of Yale EI. We have programs that do that right now, character ed programs, but I'd like us to be maybe a little bit more purposeful in the way that we're layering that on top. So that's one of the thoughts I've been exploring.
Anybody else have any?
I would just add to that, and that's the big part of that. The big part of the answer, Don, is we really didn't want to say too much. We wanted to say the things that we think are absolutely essential, but that's a whole part of that initial process of including the community and stakeholder input. Is we want to know what is it that our community wants.
Okay. Anything else to add from anybody? Okay. Well, again, to all the presenters, thank you for taking the time tonight and for putting these slides together. And thank you for really helping craft the last 5 years. And we'll look to get the next 5 years kicked off in the next month or so. Okay, Lee, you have nothing else? Lee, anything else to add? Or are you good?
No, I'm perfect.
All right. So we'll move on then. Discussion item. This is 5.01 non-resident tuition. If you recall, at the last meeting, we had a bit of a discussion about the non-resident tuition rates, since we do have to approve and set them at the reorg meeting in a few weeks. So, we could talk a little bit last meeting. This is really the time for the board to discuss the rates and give administration feedback on where we think they should be set. So I will open the floor.
Were we told that it was going to be this meeting that you needed to know the rates?
No. We're just going to be discussing, I think.
We're discussing the rates because we need to give a recommendation to administration because we need to approve them at the next meeting or the reorg meeting.
We're giving the recommendation? I thought that would be coming from the administration.
Well
because
you still need to approve it.
Yes, and because there's been so much, it's come up so many times, I wanted to make sure the board had all the information and the opportunity to discuss your thoughts on it so that I can make a recommendation that's in line with your thinking. Because it has come up a number of times as a point of question.
Yes, but when I said, okay, so let me rephrase. I meant a recommendation on what we felt collectively that number should be. I didn't mean that we're giving the recommendation that's going on the agenda.
Well, what's the recommendation right now that the administration thinks it should be?
It depends what our goals are with it. I don't have a set number. I mean, currently we're at 7 and 11 for elementary and secondary. That's probably low. When those were set 4 years ago, those were consistent with private school tuitions in the area, which have risen. So they're even low compared to what the thinking was at that time. So the now in terms of private school tuition in the area, parochial school and tuition is closer to, I would say, 9 and 13. We do have the ability legally to go up as high as 19 and 20 or 21. I think it's in the high 20s. That's, a decision. It really depends on what our goals are to get out of non-resident tuition. If our goals are, to increase the number of kids, then obviously a lower tuition makes sense. If our goals are to, entice families who may be out of the district with the goal of enticing them to move into the district, then a maybe more moderate price point would be the way to go. And if we really just want to make it, to get what we can out of each student, then we can go as high as the state allows us to.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that we do, $19,000, $20,000, whatever the max is. I don't think anybody is suggesting that, but I think Ms. Reamer was saying that it needs to be a little bit more because people could simply move out over the border to another town and pay less taxes and send their kids here. I think that that's what she was suggesting when we last discussed this.
Well, then why don't we take a look at a 9 and 13, or maybe even a 10 and 13, or 10 and 14, somewhere in that range. Or do we want to break it down even more? Something for elementary, something for middle, and then something for 9 through 12? Because we can do whatever we want,
We can do whatever we want below the state minimums. I would suggest we keep it as less complicated.
Okay.
If we can keep it less complicated, that would be easier.
Okay. So to get my three tiered.
Right.
My opinion would be to do a somewhat moderate increase. I don't think you want to really price anybody out of this, but I actually had jotted down a number of 13 and 9, like Lee actually recommended. I had that as sort of a middle ground. As you recall, 5 years ago, we started 14 and 11, and then we dropped it down to 11 and 7. So sort of a middle ground there. I think 13 and 9 would be what I would foresee as a good place to land.
Did we in terms of what are we going to do in terms of people that are already enrolled in the tuition program? Will their tuition go up? Will they be grandfathered in? How is that going to work?
I believe their tuition would go up because I believe you have to charge everyone the same tuition. Okay. That's my understanding from the attorneys, but I had asked the question a little bit differently. I could go back to them and ask them that question, but my understanding from the attorney is that you can't discriminate. You have to charge everyone the same amount. Okay.
And the other thing I was going to ask is, when we last discussed this, I indicated that we should make some sort of exit interview for everybody that's in this program in terms of price, in terms of quality, what are they getting, and do they feel as though the price that they were charged was a good price or what have you? Did we make any progress on that?
We don't really have any information on that, but we can absolutely do that moving forward.
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting. Yeah. So if we have some sort of, have we been working on some sort of like questionnaire, or that we're going to hand out at the end, a digital one, a one on paper, something that gets mailed out? I don't know how you.
Yeah, we'll put that. We'll work on that over the summer.
Okay.
Good idea, Angus.
Yeah, we just need to apply some sort of metrics to these things and figure out what it is we're doing. I think it's helpful in planning going forward. Well, I kind of feel like Chris is in the right ballpark with his suggestion. Like maybe it should go up with a moderate increase.
Yeah, I agree. That's about 28, between 25 and 30%.
Because we got to factor in what it costs to educate a student at Suffern. Also, I understand that if you have the numbers in the classroom, that it's whipped cream, but if you don't have the numbers, you also have to create classes, and you'll have smaller class sizes. So it cuts both ways.
But there's also no transportation in that as well. So that's another factor. So
that's true.
Right. Melissa?
The transportation gets covered by their home school district usually.
Or
if they're within the if they're within the mileage and they put in a rider for the busing, because that's
No,
usually
not for parentally placed. That's only for CSE place or private schools. For parentally placed students, the transportation responsibility falls on the parents.
Okay. Well, just looking at the tax bill from 2019, 2020, the tax rate was 193.20 cents. So looking at that with a 1.25% tax increase with no difference in the equalization rate, which means that our share of the pie doesn't change, which it's going to change because we're going to have more properties within our school district that are exempt. So that means that each one of us who pays taxes are going to pay more taxes because there's more exempt properties. For being equal, saying that the exempt properties aren't going to change from this year from last. That means that our tax rate is going to be $195.62, say, per thousand. The average home in our district has an assessed value of $50,000. That's the average high ranch. So that means that the average high ranch for the 2020-2021 tax year is going to be about $9,781 without your changes in the assessed value, in the equalization rate. So your piece of the pie is going to remain the same, and without your rate that you get back for from New York State, the STAR exemption. So those things being equal, you're paying over $9,000 to educate your child in this school district. So if you have one child in the school district, you're already paying $10,000 to educate your child. So to send your child here in the school district for $9,000, you're paying less than a homeowner. I don't think that's fair. I think that you should be paying more than somebody who owns a home in this school district to send their child. Granted, you're not paying for busing, but I own a home here. I pay to own a home here. So I want to make it so that people want to own a home here and not rent a house in Mahwah and send their children. So that's my opinion, but it usually doesn't go my way. So I just probably wasted my breath, but that's my opinion. So,
Okay, Melissa, number one, you didn't waste your breath, okay? And number two, that's a very important point. You're right. So if it was something like $11,000 for an elementary kid, now we're talking, and maybe that's where we'll end up, but maybe to go like a $2,000 increase now, and then the following year increase it again, because remember, we can change it every year. So
but it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter if your kid is in elementary school, middle school, or high school. If I have one child, right now,
right, I got
my taxes, because I live in wonderful Airmont, Muncie, and my taxes are well over $18,000 for school tax and library. And I have one child now in the school district, so my school taxes are $18,000, and I'm sending her to Suffern High School, which I love. So, that to me is amazing. But if I moved to Mahwah and I sent her to Suffern High School for the year and drove her, I could send her for $13,000.
And
that's a savings to me to move out of the district, sell my home of $5,000 a year. And I can't even write those taxes off on my income taxes.
Correct.
I get, if I'm married filing separately, I get to write off $5,000.
Mm-hmm. Right. I get you.
So, I don't think it's fair to homeowners. That's my opinion.
So, Melissa, what number would work for you? 10, 11?
Right now, last year, we raised taxes by 1%. And our taxes went up by over 3% last year because of the change in the pie, right? Because people went and had exemptions. So our pieces of the pie got bigger, right? We had to take on more taxes because more people didn't have to pay tax. That's what the problem is. So it's not fair that they don't have to pay that tax, right? They don't have to pay that share. So to me, 10 or 11,000 is fair to say, hey, you don't even live here, because right now we don't even know what our taxes are. We're not going to know what our taxes are until those tax bills come out and we know what the assessed values are. So right now, talking about what our rates should be, it's like putting the cart before the horse. Let's find out what the actual rates are, what a homeowner is going to spend, and then from there.
I believe we won't know that until August. And I have some concerns about waiting that long. I'm not sure if it's a legal requirement that we pass it at the reorg, but I do know that we need to let our families know before August 20-something, especially if we're going to raise them that much. I can check with the attorney that is it actually required at the reorg, or could we do it at a later July meeting? That's a question I can ask. I don't know the answer to that. But it is quite possible that the answer is going to come back that it needs to be done at the reorg. That's where we've always done it.
Well, if it needs to be done at the reorg, I mean, this is just a shot in the dark, but I would say 10 or 11,000 for at least starting, and then from there go up. I mean, if you want to make it to 13, I don't have a problem with that, as long as our people who pay taxes to live here are not paying more than somebody who's renting somewhere else out of the district. That's my concern. I want people to want to buy in our district and not give them a discount because you rent somewhere else.
Thank you. That provides a good lens to look through for that. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so does anybody have anything else? I mean, does anybody else want to voice any opinions? Because we need to, until further notice, we should go under the assumption that we're going to have to vote on this on July 7th. And if that changes, then we get more time. That's fine. But
Matt, I think
we're going to have to vote on this in 3 weeks. What's that?
I was saying, you were asking if anybody had anything to put in. I just wanted to throw something else out there. It's not just about the academics that you get at Suffern. It's a very high-rated school, and our Cherry Lane School is a blue ribbon school. It's one of the best in the state of New York, and it's not just that. I mean, look at what students who go to Suffern High School and to the Suffern Middle School are getting in terms of the theater program that we have, the band program that we have, kids learning musical instruments, the athletic program that you run here. You're talking about a hockey team that's always in the at least in the hunt to win the section, if not going to the state. We always have very good programs in sports. So it's more about also the experience that they're getting going here. I mean, it really is a fantastic school, and we're always, flying the flag for our schools. And if that's the case, and we really do have all of these fantastic programs and everything like that, I think Melissa's right. I think people shouldn't be able to sneak in through the back door and pay less. I think that we owe it to our taxpayers, that are really footing the bill for all of this, to get as much as we can out of people that don't live here. It's just fair at the end of the day. That's my 2 cents.
Well, maybe we should look for people who have more than one child coming in. And that's who we, because if they have an elementary and a secondary, they'll be paying over $20,000. If they have 2 secondary, if it's at 13, they'll be paying $26,000.
Hey, listen, I mean, if they're coming in with 2 kids, maybe we give them a discount. I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make it more convoluted, like Lisa was saying, because Lee's saying that we don't want to make it so that it's really
more complicated, right?
Care of.
Right, but I'm just saying that if I lived outside and I had 2 kids, and one was elementary, one was secondary, and I wanted to send them here, I'd be paying at the new rate, if it was 9 and 13, $22,000. So I may be living in Mawa, and whatever the taxes are there, but I'd be paying $22,000 for my kids to come here. And at some point, it might go up to 26.
Are there any students who are coming here who have a brother or sister or 2 students in the district?
We have one family that has 2 students attending our schools.
Okay, so we have to get more families with multiple kids.
And that should all be part of the strategic plan with this company that we're hiring. They should be looking into that. And telling us how we can attract such families. That's right. That's the point of spending the money on this company and going out there and doing that. And I think it's a smart move hiring the company, through the strategic planning committee. I think it's a great idea, but we'll see what they say in terms of the and Lee. I mean, I know that we're not. I guess we are in contact with them and in contract. Can we get some input from them in terms of how we should do this before our next meeting?
So one of the things I would be shocked if they would give me an opinion on that. They do work all across the country in different states and have all different rules on this. They do not generally make, the only recommendations they make generally are research-based recommendations. What they do is help us look at our data, hear the input from our community, and figure out what's best based on the data we have. So it's not like we give them 20 different questions and they just give us answers to them. I mean, when there is research-based, responses, they absolutely provide that to us. I imagine because this is something that's so different all across the country, it's very dependent on state laws. I would be surprised if they have very much data on it. I can ask.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I can definitely ask them, but I would be surprised if they have an opinion on it.
But let me ask you this: if we're hiring them to do this, we're in New York, and they probably, I would imagine, have other people in New York, and if they don't, then it's on them to do the research to find out what it is that other people are charging for this, and go and compile the data. I mean, that's
what I'm saying is that I don't know that there is research on it. Like, I don't know that the research even exists. I have never seen research on it. What I've heard from attorneys. I've heard from, communities. Some communities do it. They let their employees send their kids to the district. Most districts that have that have gotten rid of it. It's not an area where research time and money is invested in the research of it. That has not been my experience, which is why we're struggling now, because there's no right answer. That's why we're,
So I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in and just say that I kind of align with where Chris was going. I think if we're a little leery on that lower number, maybe 10 and 13 is the right number. So at least you're over that average that Melissa talked about. But You know, I think you go too high, you're going to price people out. And at some point, then you ask yourself, is it even worth doing this at all? And, you know, that's another conversation maybe for another meeting. But, you know, I would be fine with 10 to 13 for next year. That's my 2 cents.
It has to be profitable for the district to do it. If we're subsidizing parents who've moved away, it's not worth it. The other question I have is, I know Clark, if I'm correct, Lisa, Clarkstown does not have a program like this. Clarkstown and Orangetown, or is it Pro River?
Yes, I had shared that previously. Clarkstown does not, Pearl River does not, Nyack does not, and South Orangetown does not. I believe the only ones that do, Nanuet does, but doesn't have any students in it. North Rockland does, but doesn't have any students currently in it, and East Ramapo does.
Didn't Clarkstown used to have a program and they got rid of it?
I don't know. I only spoke to their current superintendent.
Okay. I could be wrong, but I thought that Clarkstown did have a program at one point. Okay, and does anybody have anything else they want to add here? Melissa? Melissa?
Yeah, I'm unmuting.
Oh, okay.
No, it's me calling in. I'm Matt.
Okay. Wait, now
I think it's no.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thank you. My only concern is this: is that I agree a moderate increase is probably due. I would hate the increase to chase people out of the district. So I think we have to really focus on a legit number that we can attract people in, yet maintain. I mean, 23.
No, I think we lost you again, Tom. Melissa, you're up.
Well, obviously, I mean, it's already, you guys are, you know, I guess you're on board with 9 or 13 or 10, 13. I was just going to say I would do like 10.5 because the taxes are going to go past 10. And then they're going to be more in line with like around 11.5. So I was going to say 10.5 just to cover us a little bit more, and then 13.5 just to cover us. And then you can give, we only have right now about 20 students, and then you can give, since it's only about 20 and there's only one family who has 2 students, you can give them a discount. You know, if people have more than one student in the district, you can give them a discount. You know, so a lot of schools do that. So I just want to make sure that we're covering ourselves and not putting ourselves out there that taxpayers are paying more than private students that don't live in the district. You know, I feel very strongly about that, obviously.
Okay.
One of the questions I would have to ask the 20 students or their parents, exactly why are they enrolled in the Suffern Central School District? Why are they willing to pay that amount of money to bring them here? Is it the academics or is it for the athletics? What's the reason that they're coming in?
Look at the board. Hello? It's a joke, people. It's a joke.
And anything else before we move on? Okay. All right. I think we're going to move on then. Nobody else has anything to add. Board member comments? Anybody got them? Raise your hand. Angus, I think yours was up first.
Yeah, I would just like to thank all of the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scout that came on here tonight. Their projects were fantastic, and I really enjoyed watching and seeing what each one of them did. It was a great little add-on to our agenda tonight. And I also want to thank the people who presented this evening. It was good. A lot of information there for us to bounce amongst each other, and I appreciate it. And I'd also like to say good luck to all the candidates in the election. Hopefully we'll have the results soon.
Okay, Chris, I think that's your hand up next.
Yeah, I would just like to congratulate all the students at the end of this year, all the graduates, all the students that are moving up to new schools. And I want to acknowledge the hard work that you put in under very difficult circumstances, and I want to thank the families as well for the accomplishments of the students. I also want to thank the organizers of the events that have gone on this past week, from parents to community members to staff to administration to teachers. The events were really very, very well planned out, very well thought out. My wife and I actually attended the parade last night for the high school students, which was really breathtaking to see. And the community coming together, I think, was very inspiring to me. And just a lot of the students happy and smiling, and proud of their accomplishment. And that really struck a chord with me. So I wanted to thank all the organizers. I know it's across the board who organized that. So I just want to give a shout out to them and thank them for me personally, that it was a great community event, and it shows the strength of our community. And when people come together, it really shows. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
All right, thank you. Paul?
Yeah, I like to echo Angus's words. Great job by the Scouts. Their projects were really super, and it just really adds to the whole feel of the Suffern community. To the principals and to Lisa in terms of all the work that you did for the strategic planning from 5 years ago right up through today. It's great to see a lot of the things that you wanted to take place five years ago have taken place. And we're going to be going on for another five years. All of the things that Chris said, it's so true. I mean, really, it was incredible that despite all of the hurdles that these kids and the parents and the teachers, everything that they had to jump over and bang into and whatever, everything just turned out great. All of the different parades, the clap out at the high school that took place yesterday, the big parade at 6:30, all of the other parades that took place. Really, it's just great. The people who organized it, boy, you should, I don't know, get into party planning or something. And a lot of these things that took place maybe should always be taking place, because it seems that it brings everyone even closer together. And I know that on the 25th at Rockland Community at the parking lot, I'll be going back to a drive-in. I haven't been to a drive-in in a long time. But I will be taking my favorite date to that drive-in. And I really hope to be watching the video of all of the students from the class of 2020 from Suffern. And it should be, boy, I'll have tissues with me for sure. So kudos to everyone, to the parents, to the staff. Great job. And to the students, really, there's nothing that you cannot accomplish. Terrific. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Don?
I'd like to echo Angus, Chris, and Paul. It's really congratulations to all of the students, for a tough year, but for graduating this year. And I understand from Facebook that some of the parents and students say, you know what? Forget the RCC graduation inside. Let's have that parade, okay? And the parade was really hometown. You'd think you were in Vermont, okay, or something like that. But to all the people who organized it, and for the students, up on top of those fire engines and everything else, it's going to be the experience. Okay, phone rang.
If I could, I think.
Wait, Don, were you finished or did you have more?
I'm finished.
Okay, Tom? Tom froze up again. Tom's got to start taking these meetings somewhere else.
The North Pole.
All right, Melissa, you go.
I think everybody basically covered everything I wanted to say. I just want to wish everybody who's the kids who got Eagle Scout and Gold, and I just can't believe all the work that they put in and do all of that, and the perseverance, the parades, the graduation. It was amazing. Standing out there and waving to everybody, it really was amazing. Everybody who planned everything, the administration, the graduations, you guys did a great job. And the parade last night was really, really good. So everybody who planned that, kudos to you. As far as the election, I wish everybody the best of luck. And I just want to shout out to Heather and Robert Romanowski for all the hard work that you have done. This is not the normal election cycle, and you have worked tirelessly through everything that has gone on. So, thank you so much. I'm not running, thank goodness, but I know how much work you guys have put in. And I just want to say thank you publicly to both of you.
Hello.
Tom, you there?
Yeah. I've been on and off this thing all night, so I'm on the phone now.
All right, you're up.
Okay, I just wanted to say just what everybody spoke about tonight. I think what we're saying is what a community we are. And that's what it's about. Everybody kicked in, and I really, it's home. It's what Suffern's been for my 50 years living here. So thank you, everyone. Let's just keep Suffern where it belongs, number one. All right, and we'll move on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The only thing that I'm going to add, aside from all the congratulations that have been expressed, is that I want the public to be aware, just in terms of the election and the budget vote, that as of right now, I got an echo somewhere. As of right now, the polls are closed. Everything that was being returned to Hillburn is here, whether it was personally turned in or through the mail. Ballots, I'm sure at this point, are currently being counted with the two machines that we have in the Hillburn office. We're going to try our best to give as much notice to the public as possible before we call, because we're going to have to call another meeting later this week once the numbers are tabulated to record and certify the results. So there will be another board meeting. I can't tell you at the moment if it'll be tomorrow night, Thursday night. It's going to depend on how quickly those ballots get counted. But I just did want to make the public aware that, we will be having another meeting to announce the results, and that we will try to give as much notice as we can. That's really it. Public participation for any district-related matters. Heather, do you have anything to read?
Yeah, I have one email.
You have one? Okay.
One. And this is from Sarah Kern, guidance chair at Suffern High School and parent of 3 children in the district.
Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Weber, and all of the administrators that presented tonight. As a member of the last strategic planning committee, it was a pleasure to see how our good work materialized in the past 5 years. Our district is ever changing, and the flexibility of our entire staff to deal with whatever is thrown at us is surely evident after we transition to virtual learning. Thank you so much. All of the stakeholders in Suffern Central should be proud. And that is it.
Thank you.
Okay.
That was the only email?
That is the only email, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt, if I forgot to say something during board member comments, can I say it now during public participation as a member of the public?
Are you speaking as a member of the public, or are you speaking as a board member?
I am, yes. I'm speaking as Angus McKenzie of 10 Overbrook Drive, Airmont, New York.
Okay, so basically, just for the visual, if we were sitting at the dais, you'd be standing up and going to the podium.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, in terms of the parade, I forgot to say it before, but I wanted to send a thank you to Mayor Markounis, Chief Clark Osborne, and to Rich Gandon. They were fundamental in planning this whole thing, and I appreciate what they did for our kids. It was really, really a wonderful parade. We stood out by the Salvation Army, and we applauded with our Rotary Club, and they really, really did a fantastic job, and the kids were so excited. So I just wanted to say kudos to those guys, and thank you very much.
Yay!
All right.
Melissa, you are not supposed to respond to someone who's at the podium.
That's right.
Oh, but it was Angus McKenzie.
It doesn't matter.
Not a dialogue.
Doesn't matter. By the way, great job, Angus.
Acting Superintendent, closing comments?
I would just echo what all of you shared about how our communities come together over the last week and a half. We've been through a lot over the last 3 months, but the last week and a half really gave some really high points and wonderful opportunities to celebrate our students. I'm so grateful to the staff who just, in education, March is always a long month because there's usually not a vacation during March. And this was literally the longest March ever. And our staff was just amazing. Teachers, assistants, aides, clinicians, administrators, really stepping up. I had shared some words with the staff earlier this week, and for the community, as hard as we worked, we also know that we can do better. And so with our reopening team and our administrative team having the opportunity to reflect over the summer, thinking about, what will reopening look like? We don't know yet. Will we be fully remote, fully back, or some type of hybrid? Whatever it is, as well as we responded to the crisis this spring, we know that we want to do better come fall. And so just stay posted. We'll continue to communicate as we have information available.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, before we adjourn, I just want to say one more time to the public, we will keep you as informed as possible about, the meeting that's going to be coming later this week. So just be on the lookout from the district on that. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Moved.
Ms. Kramer, there's second.
Second.
Mr. McKenzie. All those in favor, respond by saying aye.
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 Anybody want to stay?
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
You voting nay?
Well, I want to stay. I wanted to adjourn. Can we stay and talk?
Oh, yeah, I mean, do whatever you like. I'm going to go, but you can stay.
Well, maybe I want to stay.
Oh, more than welcome. This meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul, I'll see you later then.
Oh, no, you're not going to see me later because you're